Tonight on Behind the Details with Chelsea, we sit down with special guest Hudson Archer. At just the age of 18, Hudson has been able to grow an extremely successful mobile detailing business, as well as coaches dozens of detailers all over the US on how to become successful when it comes to detailing. So tonight, we're going to have a crash course with Hudson to find out some tips on how to become a successful business and how you can get rich detailing. So go ahead, grab a snack, and let's go ahead and get started with the show. Good evening, everybody. I am so glad that tonight we can have Hudson Archer on. For those of you that have never heard of Hudson, I was first introduced to you through Ivan LaCroix. I feel like Ivan knows everybody in this industry. But he sent me a couple of your videos a while back on YouTube. You have, was it Hudson Archer Detailing is your YouTube channel name?
Yes, yeah.
And he sent me a couple of your videos and I was blown away. I think the first one I saw was when you were like making maybe $5,000-$10,000 a month. And then to see that you've been able to scale that to like $25,000 a month plus has just been astronomical. I've had my eye on you for quite some time within this industry, and I see you doing great things. And so I'm really excited that tonight we're going to kind of pick your brain, find out a little bit about your story, how you got your start in detailing. I know that there are some people that can probably question your legitimacy based on your age, and I want to kind of shush all of those opinions because everything that I've seen from you is just very impressive. So Hudson, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate the intro, Chelsea. Thank you for having me. And Ivan, like we were chatting backstage, Ivan's always been good to me. He reached out to me on Facebook 2 years ago after I posted just some random vlog. And, you know, the YouTube's done well. We've done everything from vlogs to product reviews, and honestly haven't done as much YouTube as I'd like. We've got 5 videos that we're filming this week because it's like that has been the biggest driving factor behind the personal brand and all the stuff I've done on social media. So need to get more of that out.
So for those that haven't heard of you, haven't followed your story, can you just give us a quick summary, kind of take us back to the beginning, how you
Yeah.
got your start in detailing? It probably isn't that long of a story because how old are you now?
18. Yeah, I started at 15.
Okay, so take us back. How did you get your start into detailing?
Yeah, it was literally the summer after, sophomore year, no, freshman year of high school. And some friends of mine were getting jobs, whatever. I thought, let me start a side hustle. Always was entrepreneurial minded. Like back in lower school, like 4th, 5th grade, I was always trying to like sell random stuff. So that was always kind of how my personality was geared. Got into detailing just from finding some videos online. Still remember the first videos that I found for detailing, just some like vlogs of guys that were just washing cars out of like one of those old Ford Transit Connects. You know what I'm talking about? The old body style. So I remember watching those and thinking, hey, this is pretty cool. Can make some money. So bought some supplies, got that started, had some friends that were doing some online school programs at the time. So begged my parents to let me give business a shot for a semester and not go back to school so I could have more time. Got my driver's license, bought the first van. It did well, went up to 10,000 a month, 15, 20, dropped out of the college courses I was taking, dual credit, dropped out of high school this past year. So that's kind of catching
dropped
up.
out of high school.
I did. Yeah.
Are you working on a GED or anything like that?
Not currently, no.
Okay, that's not a priority.
I guess not. We'll see. It's probably something I can do for
Obviously,
like
you don't need it.
but
I mean,
at
I
the
can
moment,
tell
no.
I can just tell by listening to you even talk the last 5 minutes that we've been backstage. Like you're a very smart young man. Like
I appreciate it.
like what are the things that have always interested you for you to be this knowledgeable?
So in passing periods from like 7th to 9th grade, that we had 15-minute passing periods, lunches. It was always podcasts in my ear, you know, not hanging out with friends. And I had friends, like I wasn't a loner. I just always had something in my ear, always wanted to learn business, philosophy, religion. That was what just consumed me throughout school. And obviously, you know, learning a lot leads you to trying things. And then, you know, you try something, you learn about it and so forth. And sometimes things work out. So I guess I've always just been interested in learning and growing.
Well, that just says that there's many outlets to education, that it doesn't always have to be, you know, kind of the way everyone expects it to be. You can pave your own path. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about your parents, because I feel like you had to have some sort of impression early on to be this entrepreneur driven. Like, did your parents pour that into you, or were you just wired that way from birth?
I'm not 100% sure. So dad has had a side hustle where he's built like furniture on the weekends, and that's pretty much it. But other than that, 9 to 5, mom stayed at home with me for pretty much all my childhood, although she was very, very sick and still struggles with a lot of health issues, like we were talking about
Yeah.
beforehand. But I think the biggest driving factor at home is just they always facilitated an environment of whatever you want to do, try it. We're not going to stand in your way. So, growing up, the way things were taught to me wasn't do this, don't do that. It was, I'm going to educate you on why this is or isn't a good idea. You make the decision and have that
Mhm.
consequence for yourself. And I think that that can be dangerous to raise a kid that way because, there's definitely some things that you can get yourself into that maybe are not the best, but at least you're educated on it. So then, instead of, when it becomes an I told you so, it's I told you so, and you knew why not to do that. So I guess that's how I was raised. And over the last couple of years, they've kind of let me operate as an adult even before I turned 18, which has been nice. So
I'm sure they're super proud of you for everything that you've accomplished already.
I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, I'm sure that do you have any siblings?
No, it's just me, and that's probably also part of it. I never had anything to do at home, so yeah,
You just basically well, I mean, that does make sense because a lot of your, like, single kids, they seem to be, one, really great with their parents, a little bit more mature developmentally because your peer group is your parent.
sure,
So that kinda makes sense. I was a little bit of a counseling major in college, so I always like to understand, like, the why behind what makes people tick. But
yeah.
early on, like, what was you said you listened to some podcasts or things like that. What are some of the things that, like, influenced you or educated you to have more of an entrepreneur mindset?
Yeah. I still remember the first ever YouTube video I found about making money as like someone that was young. So, if you're in my age demographic and you're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, there's like a whole wide array of social media influencers that are like in their late teens, early 20s that are making money. And most of them it's through, online businesses, whether it's e-commerce or drop shipping. I guess those are the same thing, crypto, various different models that people pursue online. Started watching a bunch of influencers in those spaces, and the idea of making money young fascinated me, but I was never computer savvy. So like any of the things that they taught just seemed so draining to me. So I kind of took those, I guess the mental frameworks and the motivation of doing something, and then tried to find something that I was more wired for, which was something with my hands. So detailing came about there. But yeah, the first ever person that I found online, a guy by the name of Sebastian Giorgio, you can look him up. He's got 1 million on YouTube. He doesn't do much personal brand wise anymore. Um, but he started in e-commerce and then rolled over into software and various other things. Now he's got real estate. And all these guys that I looked up to, I've now met every single one of them and have like had conversation with them, either had dinner or they've come to some of our events, and like really cool meeting people that you looked up to during that journey, and the people that were just like their voice was in your ear 8 to 10 hours a day while you're detailing in the hot Texas sun. And then, one day you shake their hand and say, wow, okay, this is a real person, not any different than me. So yeah, I'd say stuff like that was probably my biggest influence.
Okay. When you first started your detailing business, what did it look like for you? Like, what products were you using? How much did it cost for you to get
Chemical
started?
guys.
Chemical guys? Okay.
Chemical guys for a solid year, actually. So I was using chemical guys up until I was still using chemical guys until I bought the second van. And the reason why, I guess I was never so focused on finding the best, most cost effective, efficient products. For me, it was always the drive of the business. And as long as results were good and we were getting those 5-star reviews, customers were happy, I was happy. But obviously, those of you that are in the detailing industry and you actually like know what you're talking about, chemical guys is going to be kind of way at the bottom. That's your entry level, way too expensive, watered down. They've got way too many products for no reason.
Mhm.
Um, but I got into that because there was they have a network of retail stores. I think they're called detail garages. And there's one like 20 minutes from where I live. And I
Okay.
started going there, and I built a relationship with the folks that ran it. And the guys that ran that store, I ended up becoming friends with. Like in between details, I would stop by. I'd like pick up lunch on my way over. Had like a 2-hour gap. Would sit there, hang out with them, buy some products, whatever. So I did that for probably the first year of my business. And then, funny enough, had a falling out with some of the guys that worked there because I was trying to hire them for what we were doing. Didn't work out. So then that kind of left a
I
bad taste in
can't
my mouth.
see
That's
why
such a
they
funny
would be
story,
offended
actually.
by that.
No, I don't know, but yeah. So lots of funny stories there. They were good guys, great guys, but kind of left a bad taste in my mouth after things went south there. So then I
Mhm.
branched off, met Ivan, started using DIY products. But for the first, year, it was pretty much chemical guys, and my margins were terrible. But I was working by myself, so I guess it wasn't that bad. But
Better
yeah,
than Armor All, I'll say that.
yeah, definitely that.
I
So,
actually started with Armor All, like, for tire dressing and for interiors, I think.
ouch.
Oh, well, I mean, we all start somewhere. I was
True.
doing McGuire's cleaner wax and trying to, like, hand buff every single car that came in because I thought that that's what you had to do to make it shiny.
Mm.
And, Windex for glass and Armor All for dressings. And after I think watched my first YouTube video, was like, oh, I'm doing everything all wrong and I had to switch it up. But then I got into the obsession of trying out new products and spending way too much money on detailing products. So, like, as a mobile detailer, like, what products you said DIY detail, like, do you find them to be cost effective at a scale?
For the most part, there are some products of theirs that we don't use. So, like for example, All Clean and Rinseless Wash, amazing for scale. They're just so cheap for what you use them for. Beyond that, we use a lot of PNS products. Those are great. I use a couple products from Superior. I've
Dark
got some
Fury.
products. Yeah, Dark Fury is great. Got some products from Technician's Choice. Those are ridiculously cheap.
Mhm.
That's pretty much our lineup. So yeah, DIY detail is incredible suds, rinseless wash, all clean. Don't use their interior cleaner. PNS is what we use for interior because that's dilutable 1-to-1. It's ridiculously cheap.
It looks
So
good
yeah,
too afterwards.
yeah, it looks great. And it's fun because it like foams up and you get like the bubbles when yeah, so we like that. But yeah, and funny enough, there was a time when I switched all like literally exclusively to rinseless wash, and that was more efficient for me working by myself. But when I started bringing on employees, they were
Mhm.
bored and it was not as exciting, and it actually did damage company culture by not having a foam wash. So now we have a foam wash again. Sorry, Ivan. It's still your foam wash, Ivan. It's still incredible suds, but I don't use rinseless anymore
I
for
mean,
our
if he
regular
didn't
detail.
want to use a soap, he wouldn't have designed incredible
You wouldn't have a
suds.
soap. I know, but he's definitely a stickler for rinseless. So
I know he preached at me too, but I'm like you. I like a good old contact wash. So customers, they don't get the rinseless wash. It's not as
no.
satisfying for them when they don't see your vehicle being foamed down. So I totally get it. So when you first started your business, like, how long were you uh, you know, you said your mom was taking you to details and things. Like, how long were you in that stage before you got to the point where you were able to buy your first van, and what do you feel like you had to do to get to that level?
Yeah. So that was probably 6 months of her dropping me off when I was 15 before I had my license. And then I got my license shortly after I turned 16. So then it was just, hey, mom, can I borrow your car? And then loaded my supplies in there. And then in March of 2023, so exactly 2 years ago, is when I bought that first van. Actually, pretty darn close to exactly on the dot. I think it was like March 13th. So that would be 2 years as of tomorrow. Happy anniversary. So there you go.
Have a moment. I
Yeah.
saw your video. You said you paid cash for that. It was
Paid cash for
$15,000 and then another
yeah.
15 to deck it out.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So that van
you
probably cost us, yeah, 30 all in.
so that was all profit that you poured back into your business.
Exactly. No, I mean, literally what I was doing was make money, save it, maybe buy Chipotle every now and then. And then as soon as I had what I needed to buy the van, bank account zero. Save up enough for the wrap, bank account zero. Save up enough for
Okay.
the build out, bank account zero. That's just how that's how we did it for a long time. And that honestly didn't really stop until last year. I still do a lot of that level of reinvesting because I'm young. Like I can do it. You
Mhm.
keep your bills low and you just pour everything into the business and see where things go.
So I see a lot of people in the comments section. They're already saying, "How do we get rich detailing?" That's the big question for sure. And I feel like, I definitely teased a lot of people to get in here, the thumbnail and everything. So, do you feel like it's a formula to become successful? Do you feel like you've captured what that formula is? And is it specific to just you, or is this something that really anyone can replicate if they have all of the right things lined up?
Yeah. So first we have to define our terms. So what is success and what is getting rich, right? So it's going to look different for everybody. For some people, success might be enough to pay the bills and put enough back in the bank that you're not living paycheck to paycheck, and that's amazing. For some people, their idea of success is, much more glamorous, and there are certain things in life that they want to have, like a crazy car, crazy house, trips, and so forth. So it's going to look different for everybody. Something that I preach to a lot of the students inside of our program, especially when we talk about money, because I want to have a healthy relationship with money. It's very important as an entrepreneur. One of the things that we really want to look at is that money is just a stored value of the time that it takes you to acquire it. So what I mean by this is somebody that makes $50,000 a month, but spends $40,000 a month, $45,000 a month on lifestyle is actually poorer than the person that makes $6,000 a month, but only spends $2,000 a month on bills. Because the person that makes $6,000 a month and they only spend $2,000 a month on bills, they are putting 2 months worth of living expenses away into savings or investments every single month. The person that's blowing everything on lifestyle is not. So we have to define our terms first. What is success? What is rich? And that's going to look different for every single person. From there, you can reverse engineer what does it look like to get to that point. You can become successful in 2 to 3 years if your goal is, I want to make 100K a year mobile detailing. Now, for me, I'm not successful because I have not reached my goal of $10 million liquid. You know what I mean? Like these big goals, I'm not there yet. And that might sound ridiculous, but it's true. Like you have to define those terms first. Now, the bigger the goals are, the more you have to think through what level, how far can my current business model take me? Okay.
Mhm.
Mobile detailing is a very fast accelerator to a full-time work for yourself income. Very fast accelerator. It's not very difficult to make 6 figures a year working by yourself as a detailer. You're going to pocket 80-90% of that unless you're just heavily reinvesting into products and buying the newest stuff, Chelsea. But
Hey,
it's
it's
true.
now my job. Give me a break.
It's true. Yeah, you get paid to promote the product, so it's good. But look, that's another example. So if you say, part of what I want to do is I actually, in order to get where I want to be, I have to bring another business model in. For you, affiliate marketing,
Mhm,
sponsors. That
mhm,
is an opportunity that you got access to via what? Detailing. Detailing for your clients. So
mhm.
when people look at me and they say, is he legit? Like, what is he doing? I am doing more than just detailing. Duh. You can look at my social media. That is not secret. We're doing way more than detailing. Got products on the way. Have a coaching program. We've got 130 students inside of our program. We've hosted 3 events in the last year. Okay. Each event has had over 20 members. So there's so many things that are involved in this ecosystem that I'm building that is building towards my ultimate goal. But if your goal is I want to make 6 figures a year, that's $8,300 a month, you can do that with just detailing. So you have to define your terms and then figure out what ecosystem do you have to build to get there. Because if the goal is I want to make $10 million in the next 10 years, it's going to be very hard to do that as a mobile detailer. Very hard to do that. You can do it, but very hard. So
Now, do you feel like these principles can apply to any setting, or are they key for just mobile detailing? Because I know that a lot of people watching might work for a shop, or they might work have a home-based detailing business. Like, do you feel like those principles apply across the industry?
yeah, obviously, 100%. I mean, you're home shop based and you make money off of affiliate marketing, you know? I mean, you look at somebody like Luke Wilson. I don't even know if that guy has a detailing business. He does everything from his shop and he makes loads of money off of his products and doing webinars and so forth. You know what I mean? Like that is just I don't even know if he does mobile anymore. I'm
You
not sure.
actually
I don't see
remind
it.
me of him a little bit.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, you're like a
What's
younger.
he, is he
You
he's in
talk
Tennessee,
fast,
right?
just like him too.
I guess so.
No,
Yeah. He's in
he's
Tennessee,
very
right?
I think he's in Tennessee, yeah. I
Yep.
know I mean, I haven't followed him for years. He was one of those people that I followed hardcore when I first started because he was definitely big on using products that were affordable, that were effective, not
Sure.
necessarily pushing the big brands, and very entrepreneur minded when it came to those things. I honestly could see him, like you're saying, just eventually going more into just teaching and training versus actually doing. And I think that was always his goal. He was never shy about that. But as for someone like you, what if you found, as far as resources that help you have this success? Because I can imagine, this requires a lot of time. You're 18, I've watched a day in the life of your video. You're getting up at like the buck crack of dawn just to start your day. Like, what are some things that help you become efficient to get to this level? And
Yeah.
like, did that have to evolve over the years?
Yeah. So first, let's dispel the idea of when that work has to take place. I have been just as productive waking up at 3 a.m. like I did this morning as I have been waking up at 9 or 10, but staying up till 2 a.m. Okay. So I've been able to do either way. Business has evolved. So there have been seasons where I would get up at 5, go to the gym, detail, come home, do work on the computer, eat, go to sleep. Then there have been other seasons where the guys take the vans for the day. I'm not getting up until 10. I'm working all day at the house up until, midnight, 1 a.m., going to sleep. So there's that. As far as resources, I think being completely unafraid to pay for advice that you need is going to be absolutely key. So funny enough, I've got a group of friends now that are all, influencers online that have coaching programs and so forth. And it was this time last year, I literally was buying every single person's coaching program, even though they were all the same. And they make jokes. They're like, Hudson bought all of our products. I'm like, yeah, it got me to where I wanted to be. It got me in the right circles. So I think knowing where to get your advice from and knowing how to source that and being completely unafraid to take a risk on yourself and pay for it is definitely one of the biggest things that has gotten me to where I am. And also understanding like who you take advice from matters. And that's like super obvious, but most people are going to get bogged down by the advice of friends and family that have no idea what they're talking about. Okay. Mom, dad, they might love you. Have they done what you want to do in business? If the answer to that question is no, you're not taking business advice from them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they've done what you want to do with a relationship. Maybe you've seen a successful marriage. Great. Get advice from them for that. Business, if they don't know what they're talking about, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't listen to that. So understanding where to source your advice from is
Mm-hmm.
definitely going to be that biggest key. That and then also managing your time efficiently. And I found that intentionality matters like a lot. Most people go through life without knowing what they're doing day to day. They go off of a whim. I feel like eating this. Okay, why do you feel like eating that? Is that a craving or is that something your body actually needs? So being intentional with all areas of my life has helped. What music do I listen to? Why do I listen to that music? I know why I listen to every artist that I listen to. I know why, because of the frequencies involved in that music, right? So we're actually looking at those things. I know why I eat the food that I eat. I go back and forth between like a carnivore versus an animal-based diet, so very low carb. I know why I eat that way. Why? Because I want to minimize brain fog and increase my energy throughout the day. Carbs lower that energy, they make you sleepy. So different parts of my life I've just optimized for what outcome do I want and what is going to influence that outcome. So maybe that answers the question.
I'm just sitting here kind of speechless because you do not appear to be someone who has dropped out of school and knows as much as you
Right.
do. I mean, the number one best advice someone gave me when it came to wanting to grow in this industry was to surround myself with people who have done what I want to do and done it well. So exactly what you're saying. Make sure you are just aligning yourself up with people that have that same vision and maybe have already done it so that going to follow in their paths. I'm so impressed with you, Hudson. Like
No, thank you.
seriously.
You don't have to keep saying that, Chelsea. Please don't. But I appreciate it.
No, I'm not trying to like boost your ego or anything. I am not someone that naturally has this ability that has this knowledge. I feel like when it comes to having a business mindset, you're either born with it or not. Like I can identify an entrepreneur at heart, and I feel like you're one of those people. I personally don't have that drive in life. I wish I had that level of self-control and discipline and honestly I'm a little jealous. I very much respect it, but like how does someone like me who struggles with self-control, with discipline, do you have any words of wisdom to help improve those skills? Because for me, I don't have that much drive when
Yeah.
it comes to that level of discipline.
So this is an interesting topic to get into. So I'll give you two stories. One, people have asked me, Hudson, you always seem like you have a natural ability to communicate. You like speaking.
Mhm.
Why? How did you develop that skill? The answer that I have always found is the best one to give for that is I don't know. I think that's how God made me
Mm.
because I was in theater from seventh grade to ninth grade. So I was always, theater kid, not a loud, rambunctious theater kid, but like I
You
liked
have a
speaking.
comfort on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked playing the part. That was fun. And then I always liked debate class. That was always like my favorite. Didn't do well in math and science. Loved English and history. Loved talking about English and history. What about the book that we just read and so forth. So I think that is how God made me. And I would say the same answer, for example, when I started going out with the girl that I'm going out with right now, I was sitting at the dinner table with her family and her dad, who has a business as well. But he's got a like service-based business as well, but he's completely self-employed. He asked me, he's like, how are you this motivated? Where does that drive come from? And I gave the same answer. I said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And, maybe if I thought really hard about it, maybe I could find some different parts of my life that led to it. But I think that some people are wired that way. Some people aren't. And it's totally fine if you're not. You just have to understand those strengths and weaknesses. So for me, because of how driven I am, it's very easy for me to burn out and get sick.
Mm.
Anybody inside of my coaching program can tell you that at least once a month, I'm asking to reschedule a call because I'm sick. Because I just run myself into the ground. So there are very obvious strengths and weaknesses to either there. Now, I do still struggle with discipline. Like lately, I've been trying to force myself to wake up earlier in the morning because I find if I don't get a jump on my day, the day gets a jump on me. And that's just the way it is for most people. And I used to be really disciplined about getting up early, and I've had to retrain myself for that habit. So what I've found has worked the best is understanding all of the inputs that go into getting the output I want. So if the output I want is, let me wake up early, well, a couple things. One, it's go to bed on time. That's the obvious one. But it's what can you do to make sure the quality of the sleep is there so you wake up refreshed? Okay, mouth tape. That's one thing I've been using. Face mask. It's really huge because if you're breathing through your mouth,
Yeah.
by the time you wake up, you feel awful, terrible. So mouth tape keeps that from happening. Take magnesium supplements before bed. Like there's a whole supplement regimen that I take. I do red light therapy in the morning and the evening. I journal before bed. So what inputs can I put in place to get the output I want? That's how you shape discipline, because it ends up translating into exactly what you want anyways. But you have to be conscious, which is what I said earlier. It's intentionality. What do you want to achieve? What are the intentional steps you can put in place to make it happen? So yeah, I guess that would be my advice. Think through the little things that compound into that big thing that you want.
You sound like you've been watching my Instagram reels with the mouth tape and the red light therapy. It's like
Oh, you do all
everything.
that? Oh, that's great.
I may not do it, but I want
Oh,
to
you
do
get it
it.
on your feed. Okay, sure.
I get it on my feed and I'm like, I want to do that. See, I have a really bad case of TMJ. I have to sleep with an aligner that literally like it locks my jaw in a forward position to fix it. So I can't necessarily use mouth tape, but my dentist was like, you should do this. And I'm like, I would die. I would suffocate in my sleep. My husband will probably love it because maybe I'd stop snoring, but that's another
Yeah.
issue for us to deal with. Chingy Blingy has asked twice now, which motivational speakers do you watch on social media?
At this point, none. Yeah, none. I would say if I'm listening to anything on social media, it's not for motivation, it's for like a specific piece of knowledge.
Okay.
Um, I feel like needing motivation is definitely at the start of your journey. And there is a
Okay.
very real place for that. But you begin to become your own motivation, and not in like an egotistical way. I think Alex Hormozy puts it this way. I don't even watch that much Hormozy, but I've heard him say that confidence is built by like literally proving to yourself that you can do all of these things. So if you have reps of succeeding over and over again, now you have confidence, you don't need the motivation anymore. So the motivational speakers that I used to listen to, I think big ones for me, I listened to a lot of Luke Belmar. He's a young guy. He went viral. I don't know if you've heard of his name, but he went viral for various different things. He was one of those guys that, like I said, was crypto, e-commerce, whatever, couldn't get into the same business as he was in, but loved his content. So that was one that I used to listen to. I guess Jordan Peterson was always great. I don't know if that counts as a motivational speaker. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that would probably be most of what I would say. I listen to a lot of Patrick Bet-David these days, but that's more specific business advice outside of motivation.
Okay. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit here. So we've talked a little bit about your formula for success, and I feel like there's so much more that we could dig deep into that. But when it comes to being a mobile detailer, specifically, what are products or tools that you think are essential to be a successful mobile detailer?
A good marketing campaign. That's not what you expect me to say,
No,
but
I
the
was
product and
thinking
tools,
like, compressor, things like
and then
that.
those are obvious, right?
Yeah.
So you can go online and you can find a list of all the tools that you need.
Mhm.
Um, Find what works for you. The thing that I teach absolutely everybody that I come across that's always concerned about products and so forth is That only matters when you're so swamped to the point where optimizing those little bits of efficiency is actually going to generate you more revenue. If you can't get more than one freaking car per day, it doesn't matter if that car takes you 2 hours or 6 hours. Doesn't matter. You're going to make the same amount of money. Okay. The only difference is going to be, do you get the rest of the day to go screw around and not work? It's actually going to be better for you to work for all of 6 hours and be inefficient because at least you're working. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter until you're slammed to the point where doing some micro changes allow you to take on a fourth car for the day. As far as things that have improved our efficiency, I mean, obviously air compressor, Tornador, the basic stuff. Steamer's great. We use that for a lot of interiors now, as opposed to just scrubbing everything. Getting a scrub pad instead of using a detail brush for all of the like big surfaces. I mean, we can go on and on about those little things, but if you, the audience, is not booking out with at least 3 cars per day, those things really don't matter. Your energy is going to be better spent on marketing and building a brand for yourself if your goal is to make money with mobile detailing.
Now, when you say marketing, what specifically would you say someone starting out should focus on? Because I know there's a lot of different ways that you could do that. Some people think boosting ads, some people think doing social media. What is the tried and true marketing that you would recommend for someone who's just starting out?
Yeah. So the number one reason why you're going to be unsuccessful as a mobile detailer is because you're afraid of spending money on marketing. So we have to cross that hurdle, and then we can talk about exactly what's going to be the best. But I remember for myself early on, I was like, whoa, spending $200 on this ad campaign, that's scary. What if I don't get it back? Okay. You won't make any money thinking like that, like literally zero. So once you can cross that hurdle and say, I have to spend money on something, now we can identify what the highest leverage places to put that money is. Flyers door to door, no. Absolutely not. Because what you're doing is you're diluting the value of your hour. If it takes you 2 hours to fulfill a job and it takes you 2 hours to get that customer, it doesn't matter if you charged $100 an hour for the actual detail itself. If it took you 2 hours to knock to secure that client, you're only worth $50 an hour. It dilutes your hour. So we don't want to do that. I like Google. So pretty much all of our marketing up until like $25,000, $30,000 a month was organic, with minimal Google ads. So pretty much all SEO, search engine optimization. So having our website pop up on that first page of Google. And then we also are running, right now we're running about $75 a day to Google ads. Meta ads are also phenomenal if you have a specific service that you want to target that's high ticket, like ceramic coatings, paint correction. I won't run meta ads to regular details. It's exclusively for paint correction and coatings, in my opinion, because the quality of the lead that you're going to get on Meta compared to Google is very low, but you're able to get way more leads on Meta. So a higher ticket service is a better fit for that. That's my biggest advice. There's so many different ways to make money through marketing. You just have to cross that hurdle of not being afraid to spend it.
Now, is this something that the program that you have for detailers that you help them with?
Yeah. So Driven Lead is a coaching program, but my marketing team is done for you. So we're doing all of the marketing for you because I never learned how to do my own marketing. There's just no reason to. You should be a business owner first. You can't pretend like you have a 4-year marketing degree and you're a professional detailer and you do customer service and sales. It's just it's not scalable. So we have an internal marketing team that takes care of Google, both organic and paid, and then meta ads as well. And then I work with everybody one-on-one for 6 months.
And how much does a service like that cost?
You mean the program?
Mhm.
Yeah. So the program's high ticket, ranges between $2,500 and $7,500.
A month?
No, one time.
One time. Okay. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are many people that are like, "What's the website?"
Just follow
Where
my
do they
Instagram. Yeah.
just go on your Instagram and message you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's application only. You got to follow the Instagram. You got to get in touch, and we'll see. We usually start by doing a blueprint call to see, what are the variables currently affecting your current situation with detailing, and then what are the goals and how do those things align. So we got about 130 inside the program right now.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then we do events a couple times throughout the year. So a key part of what we do is community as well, because ultimately you can give somebody as many resources as possible, but if there's nothing to hold them accountable and really tie them together and create synergy, the results are going to be, very, very low. So that's why we do the events. The events are the greatest place for all of our guys to connect. Most of our guys are between 18 and 25. Events, we host them at a nice Airbnb, get some cars involved, have guest speakers, do some detailing classes, go to nice restaurants. It's incredible. The last one was at the end of January in Miami. We had 25 students come out there. Yeah.
So we have a question here. Now more than ever, things are becoming more expensive, more difficult, more risk involved. What advice do you have for someone who is hesitant to make the leap into a business like detailing?
Yeah. It's a great question. The good news for you, brother, is the fact that detailing is one of the most inexpensive businesses that you can start. I started with like 550 bucks, made that return within the first couple of weeks. And yes, you do have to spend money on marketing and so forth to hit those bigger numbers. However, you can get some level of consistent income coming through just by leveraging your existing network of friends, family, using social media like Facebook, getting a Google business profile for free. So many things that you can do with detailing that are going to be inexpensive. So I guess it's just a question of whether or not you feel like you can risk 500 bucks. And that's a question you have to search yourself for. But it is a great opportunity. And I think it's one that you would not regret taking that leap into.
So you've talked about a little bit of the products that you like to use. You've talked a little bit about marketing and how that's essential to really grow. What are some of the greatest lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur about yourself and about business?
It's a great question. I think the biggest is going to be a throwback to earlier, which is only take advice from people that have achieved the exact result that you want in that given area. And that doesn't mean that one person that you look up to is going to be your role model for every area of life. There are mentors of mine that I won't take advice for on relationships. I just won't do it. But on business, I will. So that's going to be number one. Beyond that is developing an understanding that consistency compounds. Whatever you do consistently across time will reap the reward. It's a reward. It's the law of sowing and reaping. So that which you sow in direct proportion will you reap. Sometimes it takes a long time for that seed to grow. Depends what seed you planted. But understanding that what you're going to do consistently across time will compound into a result. So that can be both positive and negative. Simple example. Don't go to the gym. Don't eat well. Over time, you're not going to like what you look like in the mirror. That's a very simple example. We can make that something positive though. And we can say, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to create a Google business profile. I'm going to start posting on my neighborhood Facebook page. Every customer that comes my way, I'm going to get them to leave a review. I'm going to get them to refer a friend or a family member in their neighborhood. I'm going to get them to become a repeat customer by offering them an offer that they can't refuse. If you do that consistently across time, I even made a video about it on YouTube, actually. Everybody should go and watch that like immediately. How to make 100K this summer detailing. Okay. My blueprint on how you can make 100 grand in the span of 4 or 5 months this summer. Okay. It's very simple. And it's just through consistently compounding a few simple steps. Every customer should leave a review. They should refer somebody and they should become a repeat customer. And I have the exact steps to make sure that 80 to 90% of people are doing that by creating a compelling offer, by creating a good incentive structure and a reward system, like a bonus program for people to refer other friends and
Mhm.
family. So little things like that are really how you're going to grow. It's consistently compounding little steps and not neglecting them, both in the early stages and in, when you're at my level. I mean, there's things that I realize I'm like, wow, I haven't consistently been doing that for the last month. That's the reason why this is not doing as well as I want it to.
What are some things as a person you feel like you still want to work on to develop?
Right now, I need to get better at management and leadership. And I have been getting way better about that because of some mentors I've been working with myself. But that's huge. Creating company culture is absolutely massive. Beyond that, understanding how to manage cash flow is probably the biggest skill set that I'm working on now. Because the mindset of an aggressive entrepreneur is not the mindset that's going to lead to somebody that is able to keep their wealth. So, an aggressive entrepreneur is what I've been for the last 3 years, which is money comes in, guess what? Going right back in. You get to a point where that has diminishing return. So you can only buy so many vans. You can only reinvest so much into marketing. You can only give so many promotions. You can only buy so much upgrades to your equipment, right? Before you get to a point where you're like, hey, that dollar probably isn't going to come back if I invest it. How do I keep that? How do I manage my cash flow? So working on that is probably the biggest shift that I'm encountering right now is how do I go from being in that mindset of always reinvesting to, okay, now we have to optimize for margins because I'm a good salesman. I'm really good at sales. I'm really good at marketing. I'm not as good at
Obviously.
managing cash flow. So being really good at sales and marketing means you can have these very, very high months, but how much gets kept, right? And that's what we're working on right now.
We've got a lot of questions that came in if you don't mind answering some
So
of these. Christy from the Details of Me, what are his success rates for those people spending up to 7,500 on his class? Are they in fact now making six figures and what's the turnaround rate for that?
yeah, Absolutely. Haven't had a single person that starts with us go through the entire 6 months and not cross $10,000 a month. We are now expanding, and we've been working with several detailers that are that start with us between $10,000 and $20,000 a month, and that are scaling up to 50 as well. So you can go to my Instagram, you can go to Driven Elite Instagram, you can message any of our members. They are publicly shouted out at least daily on my Instagram. So you can literally message these people directly. You won't have a single person that says, "Hey, I haven't found success." And the reason why is because we're not just giving you course material. The way we approach our product is by having a done for you marketing solution that crushes three different elements: organic with Google, so SEO, website optimization; paid acquisition with Google, so running Google ads; and then three is meta ads. There is something within that wheelhouse that's going to work for every single person's situation. Beyond that, 6 months of one-on-one coaching and an incredible community. We are the biggest mobile detailing community in the country, outside of ones that are like, free or like $1 a month or $10 a month. We're the only one of our kind that is actually producing that level of results because of how intimately involved in every single person's business I am. I mean, you can go to my Instagram the last 24 hours, guarantee you I have a couple shout outs there. You can message those members at any time.
Now, are those guys like being honest with those numbers, or are they kind of fabricating things a little bit?
100% honest.
Okay.
You mean the students?
Yeah.
Somebody's lying to me about their numbers, I'm coming after them.
I've just had someone, I've had AJ commenting a couple times how much your students promote to make 100,000 a year, but in reality, they're not touching 4,000. He said he knows someone in his community. He's made a couple comments. I just wanted to, it was just curious.
You can judge a man by his fruits. What is the lifestyle he's living? What is he posting on social media? Is he a no-name detailing account and so forth, right? So somebody that's only making $4,000 a month, but they say they're making 100 grand a month, very easy to sniff that out because you can judge a man based on his fruits.
Tori wants to know, for someone who has a known brand but is not really big, but averaging about 10 to 15,000 a month, how would you scale this even further?
I guess it depends. When you say you're not really known big, is that like, hey, I'm not known widely on social media, but in my local community, everybody knows about me? So I'd love to hear, clarification on that. But I guess it depends. You're doing $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Is the next level unlocked by increasing fulfillment or increasing demand, or a combination of the two? So is it, I'm booked out 2 weeks in advance, I'm turning people away because they don't want to wait? In that case, you got to get a van, you got to work on team building. And that's what we do with some of our students. For other people, it's, I'm at 10 to 15 grand a month. I've got 2 vans. I have an employee. We can probably service twice as much as what we're servicing right now. In that case, it's a demand problem. So what are the unlocks that you need to pursue in order to increase that demand? So business, especially mobile detailing, it's a very simple formula of supply, demand, supply, demand. Which one do you have to work on right now? So ask yourself that question. Is it a problem of fulfillment, or is it a problem of marketing and lead acquisition?
Let's see. We have a lot of questions coming in. You guys are asking very good ones, and if you have more, keep them coming.
Yeah, go.
Chingy Blingy wants to know what percentage of his business is split between his programs and his detailing.
Yeah, depends on the month. So for example, last month, I would say 60-70% of income was from the detailing business. After the event, we kind of took time to recalibrate things inside of the community. So we didn't sell to that many new people. I think we only had like 3 people that joined last month. For example, months like September, community pulled probably 80% of what we made. So it depends on the month, back to back. I've done anywhere from, actually probably shouldn't say that number here publicly, but yeah, we've done good numbers in both. And it depends on the month, depends on the season, depends what we're doing in either. We've got 2 vans on the road right now. 3rd van's going to be live by mid-April. We're getting ready to work on the build out there. So yeah, depends on the month. And we're about to launch products as well. So we got a foam cannon, we've got a ceramic coating, and then we've got a soap and a drying aid. And we've got a bunch, I think we have 1,000 units at a warehouse in Chicago. We just need to make the landing page and start selling it.
Okay. Isaac wants to know, what was your first 2 weeks of detailing like? And how does that compare to the last 2 weeks today?
So a really good question. I actually like that. First 2 weeks of detailing was ordering flyers on Vistaprint and setting up a Google business page and detailing with my Lowe's buckets. And then the last 2 weeks have been focused on training the team, promoting one of my existing guys into a manager role. What else have we been working on? Focusing on ramping up our meta ads for the guys inside the community. What else has gone on in the last 2 weeks? Mostly team building and then building out that resource recently. Yeah. I do like that question though.
Chingy Blingy, does Hudson prefer pitching complete packages, interior exterior coatings, which usually has a lower volume and takes more time, or maintenance packages, which has a higher volume and takes less time?
First time customers are like 70, 80% of our business. I prefer first time customers, especially if you're in an area that is fast growing. So we live just north of Austin. So our area is very plentiful. There's always customers coming in, always somebody needing a new detail. We're focusing on first time details because we can wash, rinse, repeat, a $250 to $400 full detail many, many times. And also, what I end up doing, I actually offer my maintenance plans different than most detailers. I made a video about this recently. We don't just offer the monthly plan. I've got customers that are on a quote unquote maintenance plan that it could be as far extended out as once every 6 months. So they're going to get like 10% off the regular full detail, but they're still getting on our calendar at that repeat time. So I would say about 70 to 80% of our clientele is new customers, but they end up seeing us between once every 3 to once every 6 months as a quote unquote maintenance customer. It's just not the traditional maintenance plan of, hey, every 2 weeks or every month, we're doing it for $100. We do have a decent amount of those, but most of our customers are going to be full details.
Okay. First up, we have to do a quick shout out to Dixon Mayes. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We've got some friends in the community that are wanting to buy him drinks. We have, I'm going to butcher this name.
Latif. He's in our program.
Okay.
He came out to our event in Scottsdale. What's up, Latif?
Okay. How do you handle the problems of fulfillment and training? And yes, it is good to see you on the House of Rags, which we need to. Jamie and Eddie, if you guys are watching, we need to send this man some microfibers because he's using Rag Company and I think he might enjoy you guys' stuff. But anyways, go ahead.
Oops. Yeah. Latif, good to see you, brother. Yeah. So fulfillment and training, dude, you should have been on the last couple of weeks of our masterclass. The Sunday call has been great, but company culture is huge. One of the biggest things that I've been working on with my guys is building incentive structures that directly incentivize them to get the outcome that I want in a way that's going to selfishly benefit them. So building a culture where it's not about the customer or where it's not about your employee thinking, oh, I'm just making the boss rich. It's what specifically do you want out of this job and how can we boost your success? Mentor of mine, Wade Houston, taught me about this. He said, you need to ask your employees these things. What are your personal, your financial, and your professional goals? And how do you build their pay structure and their day-to-day operations around ways that are going to make them feel seen in those areas? So I would say that's probably the best advice, Latif, to getting the best level of fulfillment and training going on is how do you directly become your employees' number one support and coach for their own personal objectives?
Has it been hard for you to find employees? And do you find that you're sticking with employees that are closer to your age because of the age gap?
Yeah. So the first ever employee I hired was 20 years older than me, and that did not go well. It went well for 6 months, and then we had problems. Now beyond that, I had some people that were in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s. And then, yeah, lately, so my whole crew now is 19 to 23. Yeah. And it's working well.
Do you ever feel like there's benefits to having an older employee, or do you just enjoy kind of sticking with guys who are similar to you in age because you have a similar drive and ethics?
Yeah. Difference in motivation for sure. So younger crowd is going to be either more driven or more lazy. So you get one or two.
I've seen more lazy.
Yeah, that's true. More driven or more lazy. I would say once we move into a shop, I would say an older crowd makes more sense. For a shop environment. I don't know. I think that's my overall philosophy, but where I'm at right now, very comfortable with a younger crowd.
Well, that's kind of a good segue for Steve's question. Like you said, shop. Are your plans to eventually move to a shop and get out of the mobile detailing, or will you always have mobile and add a shop?
So it would probably always be mobile and at a shop. I haven't seen a convincing argument yet to get rid of mobile. Now, obviously, I have seen convincing arguments that shop is more profitable than mobile if you have one or the other, but getting rid of mobile just hasn't made sense for us. The biggest shop in our area, I think they're called Pristine Auto Detailing. They actually just got the first Bugatti Bolide in for a PPF, the first ever. They did it here in Austin. They have a very big shop. They do have a mobile van, and they go out and they do maintenance. They do first time full details, whatever. So I don't see a convincing argument for dropping off mobile. My lead technician did recently offer up his garage. We were in the process of building it out. We might start doing coatings there. And then if that makes sense and it's proven out well, then we might get into like an actual lease.
Okay. Remedy Auto Detail says this may have been answered earlier, but what kept you motivated when you weren't scaling as fast as you liked in the beginning? It's a good question.
That's a good question. Um, so I think the best way to frame this question is understanding were my motivations based on the fear of failure or the drive for success. For me, it was the fear of failure. I really do think that's my biggest drive is I cannot stand the idea of missing the mark of at least where I think I should be. So if you watch my YouTube and you follow my story, you'll know that October of 2023, my business almost collapsed. So I went from having 2 employees. I had just bought my second van like 2 months prior. We were doing our best months ever. And then my employees quit out from under me. They were older than me. We had problems. I wasn't a great leader at the time. Everything quit out from under me. I went from making 30 grand a month to 8 grand a month overnight. But I still had the same number of calls coming through. So I was stressing out, trying to figure out how do I pick up the phone? I can't even service all these people, whatever. And it took me a solid 5 months before I got back on my feet and got comfortable hiring again. So that would probably be the greatest example of that for his question there is, not that I wasn't scaling as fast as I wanted to. I scaled so fast, didn't have the infrastructure. It collapsed and I experienced that massive withdrawal. And that's honestly more painful than being stagnant because it was like, shoot, I was there and now we're back here. So yeah, with that in mind, I think the fear of failure of I just could not live with myself if I gave up. Yeah, that's what motivated me. Fear of failure.
Jake Lizards Detailing says, what's a realistic timeline of starting / operating a detail business before completing the legal side of the business, insurance, permits, licensing?
Yeah. So at least if you're in the US, I don't know about Canada or other countries, but in the US, you can operate as self-employed and there is self-employment tax, which can bite you in the butt. But if you're making less than like 50K a year, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So if you're, very much so part-time or you're not making loads from your detailing business, I would say, hey, you can let that ride as self-employed, maybe get an LLC if you'd like, whatever. It just depends on your risk tolerance. But once you cross some level of consistency with income and you're thinking about making it a full-time gig, insurance, license, everything, get it all. And it's not that expensive. $300 online. You go to LegalZoom.com. You can get your LLC set up. It'll be in the mail within a month.
So you would recommend going without insurance until they get to that full-time point?
Not without insurance. So we got, I didn't get insurance until we were an LLC. So I don't know what the process for getting an insurance as an individual is for liability insurance because we just have general liability insurance for our company. So I don't know what that looks like to get for personal.
Yeah, it's just as simple as if you were to call for a quote for car insurance, you would just call whatever insurance company you would want, tell them you want. For me, I have to have garage keepers and then I have to have I think limited liability insurance. So I have to
we have
have 2
limited
different
liability
policies.
insurance as well, but it's under our
Yeah, but
company.
I'm just saying, like, basically just call, get the quote. It's not that complicated. For me, I need like $1 million policy
Yeah, that's what
to
we
be able to do what I'm doing. But it's I
Yeah.
think $540 a year I pay for
Cheap.
insurance. But I personally wouldn't go without insurance. Like I've always told people, if you're doing more than 4 cars a month, then technically you're kind of doing this as a side hustle, especially if you're getting some higher end cars. Like it's
Definitely.
just rather be safe than sorry. Get insurance
Yeah.
because last thing you need is to work on a customer's Corvette, scratch it, and then you end up having to pay for a paint job or something, just doing it on the side hustle. But
yeah.
yeah.
Anything beyond friends and family.
Okay. That's a good flat line there.
Yeah.
What's the most important things we can do to rank up in local search? Derek wants to know.
So first thing is optimizing the Google business profile. This is the first thing that I do with everybody that comes inside of the program. Google business profile is going to be completely free to you. It's going to be the foundation of your SEO for your website, and it's going to be the foundation of running Google ads in the future. What you can do on the Google business profile is you want to optimize it for location. So you want to do 2 different things. You want to start by having your home address listed on that page and verifying your Google business address to your home address. If you're in a high income part of town, if you're not, register it to somebody else's address that because you do have to do some verification with that. So if you have a friend or a family member that lives in a better part of town, you can do that. Geotagging the pictures that you post to specific areas of town is important as well. And then cramming as many keywords within reason in that Google business profile as well for 2 different things. One is the areas you service, and then also the specificities of the services you offer. So yeah.
I think you're getting a lot of people who have used you over the years. One person wants to know, I know you said this earlier, but I think they might have been late to join the
Sure.
podcast. How much does your program cost typically?
Yeah. So it's high ticket. So you're going to be entering anywhere from 2,500 to 7,500. We work
And
with
that's
limited
a
people.
one-time price.
It's a one time. Yeah. So we're setting you up with 3 to 4 months of marketing and then 6 months of one-on-one. You have lifetime access to the community. I don't believe in charging a recurring fee for community access because we have some people that get in busier seasons of their life. They can't attend, the community events and so forth, but I want them to have access to it in the future. So,
But you're essentially
um,
teaching them the tools that after that 6-month point, they should be able to handle most of these things on their own, but then check in with you with the community. So
exactly. Exactly.
CS Auto Tech and Detailing, Conway says, I struggle to find younger employees with work ethic and drive. I'm 57 years old. I'm usually
Yeah.
able to outwork them. How do I motivate these people? I tried it all. Where can I find people like you?
Yeah. That's difficult. I don't know how to speak to that because I'm not 57 and I mean, I'm sure everybody that you've worked with, you're just so unimpressed by how like lack of drive they have. Um, I think the best advice that I can give is figure out if any part of the equation for it not working out the way you want it to has to do with the incentive structure. So maybe it is that every single person you've tried absolutely sucks and they're just terrible. But there might be some level of if I sat down and got to know this person at heart, I could figure out what motivates them and I could
Mm,
bake in their own interests into my incentive structure. So for an employee that values more free time, guess what? You build a consistency structure. You say, if you show up consistently and you hit these metrics for 3 months, you're going to get a 4-day weekend and those, Monday and Friday are going to be paid. And then some people are going to be more driven by money. They're like, you know what? I don't care to see my friends' family as much. I just want to grind it out. Great. You're going to give them opportunities to earn extra money. Give them referral bonuses for if they refer, friends to come use your service. Give them bonuses for getting reviews. Teach them how to upsell if you want. Completing checklists. I mean, I have one of my guys, I pay $100 a week and he does my chemicals and my rags for me because he wants to make $100 a week extra. I don't want to do my chemicals and rags. He's okay spending 45 minutes after work doing it. You know what I mean? So question whether or not it's entirely on them. And it might be. That's a very real possibility. Some people suck. Actually, like the majority of people are very lazy. But there might be some level of, if I got to know what this person really wanted out of life, I could probably reverse engineer something that's going to get me the outcome that I want while selfishly benefiting them. I guess that would be my best advice.
that sounds like parenting tips right there. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
how do I motivate my kids to do the things? Incentive based.
Clean
I'm
your
all
room,
about that.
you'll get cookies. Cookies for clean room. Yeah.
For us, it's screen time these days, but hey.
Mm.
Are you someone who does a lot of screen time? I would imagine not. That probably makes your brain mush.
I work on my computer more than I'd like, so I don't know if that's the
Yeah,
question
but
you're
you're
asking.
working. You're not like scrolling or,
Yeah.
watching social media.
No, rare. Lots of podcasts. But yeah, definitely rare on consuming. I prefer to produce.
Just everything you say, it just feels like it should be a tagline on a t-shirt or something. You
I don't know
just
about that.
have
They probably wouldn't sell very well, but appreciate it.
Steve wants to know regarding customer acquisition, what are your students' typical cost per acquisition? Do you see any major deviations with different population densities? Because you're in
Great
Austin, which I would
question.
imagine is, quite a few people in comparison
Definitely.
to, Steve lives like 45 minutes from me. I live in Lancaster. It's not that big of a town. What kind of deviations would you see with smaller
Yeah.
population versus larger populations?
Yeah, love that question, Steve. So that's why in our marketing wheelhouse, we have those 3 different methods. So complete Google organic, just SEO is going to be incredible in an area that has a younger population and a large population, because those are the people that are on Google that are actively searching. It's not going to be as good in an older, smaller town. It's not going to be as good. What is going to be good in an older, smaller town is going to be something like using a like buying mailing routes from USPS. That's something we covered on a Sunday call. We have calls every Sunday at 7. We covered that 3 weeks ago. My guy Bruce gosh, where's Bruce? He's in Massachusetts, I believe. His town has about 6,000 people. It's an older population, about 85,000 household income, but it's primarily older, retirement. So he's not going to get as good results from Google Organic or running meta ads because they're not really on Facebook and Instagram like that. But instead, he bought a mailing route from the U.S. Postal Service, ran that, cost him about $600. He generated $5,500 from that campaign over the course of a month. So it depends. That's why we have a bunch of different things in our wheelhouse, because some areas are going to be better for different marketing strategies. There's not going to be a one size fits all. That's why the first thing that we do when we pick the marketing solution for our people is we look at various factors. So Steve, I would say first thing, don't let anything discourage you and say, okay, I'm not going to be able to scale beyond this point, because Bruce is closing in at 10 grand a month in that small town in Massachusetts, low income. He's just not leveraging online the way that some of the other guys are. You know what I mean? But he's also not going door to door passing out basic flyers like anyone does. He's doing something that's a little bit more targeted, more pointed and creative. So,
Well, it's interesting you would say about going door to door, because ATAL says, what's the best method of door to door knocking higher end communities? What strategies do you recommend? How do you get into those larger communities where they have more wealth?
yeah. So the best strategy is run ads to a high income area. Once you start getting customers there, build a referral program that incentivizes them to get their neighbors on your plans. That's something that we have absolutely ripped with. So simple incentives like, okay, you want to get on our monthly plan? For every person that you get on your street on our monthly plan as well, I'll take $50 off your monthly detail. Say you charge $150 for that monthly, they just have to get 3 people. Now it's free for them, and you have 3 additional people paying you $150 a month. So now instead of $150 a month, you're making $450 a month. So 3x. So that's one thing that you can do. As far as door to door is concerned, haven't done much of it. If you're going to do door to door, go watch Oliver Lester on YouTube. He's the guy in Canada that does door knocking for, initially it was just window cleaning, and then he moved into permanent LED lighting for homes, so high ticket services. He drives a Lambo. Guy's stupid smart, in his late 20s, I want to say, but his door knocking strategy is absolutely amazing. He's super charismatic. So if you do want to get into door to door knocking, Oliver Lester.
Steve wants to know, what booking software do you recommend for mobile detailers?
You're able. It's incredible.
Okay. Maybe you've touched on it already. Native Driftsy says, however, I'm curious to know, how would you price different jobs out when starting out or building the business? Things to keep in mind, when to increase price.
Yeah. So this is a question that I get all of the time. First thing you have to understand is competing at the bottom is going to be the slowest way to the top. If your biggest selling point is I'm one of the cheaper, more affordable services in my area, guess what? Somebody else is going to be the new you in 6 months, and they're going to have the same harebrained idea, and they're going to look at you and say, he's $20 cheaper than other people. Guess what? I'm going to go $20 cheaper. Now you've lost your entire edge on the market. So competing at the bottom is the slowest way to the top. You can't go that way. Instead, what I like to do is obviously focus on reviews, reputation, and so forth on the Google business page.
Mhm.
And then try to position yourself around average or just above average to have a slight premium on the market, enough to turn away the cheap of the cheap, but not enough to turn away the average, regular person. The best way to test out raising your prices is raise it small and incrementally, and start tracking if your sales rate and your conversion rate over the phone goes down. If you're able to close 8 out of 10 leads that you get on the phone at $200 per full detail, raise it to $215, $220. If it stays at 8, there you go. Raise it a little bit, $225. Now it goes down to 7. Okay, now you're figuring out what people are willing to pay. So that's how I'd recommend.
Okay. I feel like we've had so many questions, and you guys, honestly, this is one of the best Q&As that we have had in a long time. Typically, you've probably never seen one of the podcast episodes, Hudson, but normally they're just kind of conversing amongst themselves, because there's a lot of friends that just kind of hang out and watch, and they like to catch up with one another. So this is the first time that we've actually had like a ton of questions for you. So thank you guys for all of your questions. One thing that I am curious from you, we kind of talked about it a little bit backstage before we went live, was talking about like changes within the industry from someone who's young. And I feel like has a good pulse of what's going on currently within the mobile detailing, maybe not like the social media side of things as far as Facebook and all of that. What are some things that you think the industry needs to work on to improve, to kind of keep up with the times?
Yeah. So Chelsea, do you remember the question that you asked me backstage, to which I replied, what do you mean? I don't think I've seen that. Do you remember that question?
a Facebook group, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
You said how you deal with all the hate. I said, what hate?
Oh, that, yeah. Yeah, because I wanted to know, like, how do you deal with all the naysayers that say because of your age, like, how do you deal with the cynics out there who just say
Yeah.
because you're young, you don't know what you're talking about, and they wanted you to show the receipts.
And to that, I replied, what hate? Because I don't see it. And you said, hey, that's in the Detailing for Money Facebook group and some of these Facebook groups. And I said, I'm not even in those Facebook groups because they're all 40, 50, 60-year-old detailers that have nothing to do with the future of the industry. So when we talk about the future of the industry, we have to understand that there is a dying generation of detailers. Sorry, it's what's happening. And there's new people that are coming up. And one of the biggest challenges that we have with the new generation of detailers is these guys are 18 to 22 throwing themselves at the business, and the lifespan of their business is very, very low because they haven't proven it out. They're not getting insurance. They're not going out and getting training. They're just touching cars willy-nilly. That is a real problem that we're having. And there is a valid level of older people that need to speak into that and say, hey, you have to do this professionally and do it the right way. But at the end of the day, this is something that can take someone that's 18, 19, 20, fresh out of high school, dropped out of college, whatever, and take them to a career path that is going to set themselves and their family up for success in a way that they don't have to follow the traditional mold that their parents followed. And that's the future of detailing. And that could be somebody that just wants to have a successful mobile detailing business by themselves, 10 grand a month, 8 grand a month, whatever the case may be. Sorry, brother.
I think a few people were a little offended.
You got a little offended. It is what it is.
I was a little bit there. I'm 40, Hudson. So.
No, my parents are 50. I get it. But it's what's happening, right? And you're going to have new generation that just wants to go out and they just want to detail and get things done. And you're going to have some people that like me that want to get into the space and start pursuing other opportunities with it. Have your own detailing business and maybe start an ad agency, maybe start a program. Maybe you want to launch some products. Maybe you want to get into affiliate marketing. Like maybe you want to pursue all these different things. So I think the future of the industry is young. And I think we can't create a divide between who's professional and who's not based on how long you've been in the game. There should be standards. There should be, you need to take this class. Please get insured. Please make sure you know what you're doing. And don't do this in direct sunlight if it's this product. Like there needs to be some level of standard. But at the same time, I'm not in those Facebook groups of the old heads that just talk crap because...
They're not all old, Hudson.
You never know.
You got to go in the groups to know. They're not all old. We may be middle-aged, but we're not old.
But I'm hanging out with a group of guys that have the same vision for the industry as I do, and that's what's coming. So, like it or not, it's what's coming. You better be ready for it, and you can either figure out a way to pour into it and have synergy with it, or just talk trash and then watch it take you over. But we'll see.
I mean, I might challenge you a little bit on that. I'm not going to say that
Sure.
the old school detailers don't have something that they can contribute, because I feel like honestly, their grind, their work ethic, it's missing in this generation. You are the exception. You are not the rule.
That's
It
probably
is
true.
not typical to see someone your age with this much drive, knowledge, and motivation. So honestly, like I think that there is a huge benefit for someone like you to find someone like, let's say, I'm not calling him old, but like a Jason Otterness or an Ivan
Oh,
LaCroix.
Jason's great.
Uh,
Ivan's great.
yeah, I mean, they could detail circles around people probably your age with
100%.
their experience, with their efficiency. So I think there's definitely something to be learned from experience and tenure. Just doing it day in and day out. So I totally get what you're saying, but I think there needs to be a both and. Instead of saying our way is the best or our way is the best, I feel like there needs to be better just communication between the
That's what I'm
two
saying.
different
See the synergy.
generations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Which is why I said, I'm not in these Facebook groups because a lot of it that I have seen is negativity toward my generation. What we
Yeah.
need is synergy. We need people like Ivan reaching out to people like me and saying, you're going somewhere. How can I steer you in the best direction? Because guess what? You don't know it all. And there are lots of things that I've learned from him. So people like that in the space yourself, facilitating a conversation like this is exactly what we need.
But then
And
there
funny
needs
enough,
to be more people like you, because like I said, you are the
yeah,
exception.
but that's
So
true.
how do
That's true.
you raise up that next generation? Is that something we have to do, or is that something that you feel like you're part of that culture?
The problem is people in my generation are not going to listen to people in your generation. That's the problem. So
That's
what we
true.
need,
You're more
what we need,
peer
yeah,
driven.
Yeah, and that's just how it is because of social media. So what the best way to go about it is going to be is people like yourself, people like Ivan, finding people like me that will take advice and so forth and pouring into us. That way our ideas, or your ideas rather, get spoken out of the mouthpiece of folks like me that are willing to take that on. Um, because I mean, I guarantee if you look at your audience, it's not the same as my audience in terms of demographic. It's
No, I'm
different.
35 to 40.
Yep. And I'm 16 to 22. And that's what I attract. So
Eh, no girls at all whatsoever.
minimal.
Uh,
There's a few, minimal.
I do get a couple girls, but it's more moms that are being inspired, which that's actually what I'm here for.
So fun. Yeah.
So, one of the questions I feel like we've been a little bit all over the place, and I don't want to keep this going on too long. Everyone has had fantastic questions.
Love it.
Um, if you could go back, or I'm gonna pause that question. That's always my last question. Um, what has been your biggest challenge when it comes to all of this?
Dealing with people for sure. And not from the customer side. I've always loved customers. It's building a team. It's leading. Like I said, there was a time when the whole infrastructure imploded on itself. I could market, I could get myself out there, but the infrastructure of fulfillment imploded because I couldn't lead a team. It took me 4 or 5 months before I was comfortable starting that conversation again of how do I hire. And that's where I started seeking out quality information from people that I knew had achieved that level of success with team building. So started hiring mentors specifically geared toward that. And then that's what got me to where I am now. And now we've got a team of 3 that's been running for the last 8 months consistently. I had up to 5, but I weeded down 2 of them into part-time and then phased them out because we shifted from 2-man crews to 1-man crews because we found it, more profitable. So yeah, I'd say the biggest challenge was building a team, and we're not completely out of the woods there. There's still so much to improve on, but that has been the thing over the last year that I have just poured myself into is how do I build the best team possible?
What is your plan for the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what's next for Hudson?
Yeah. So the goal for the detailing business at this point is automation. I am okay if it grows at 5 to 10% per year as opposed to, exponential growth. If we can get some level of consistent automation in place, which is what we're doing right now. Last 3 days, I haven't been on the field. We've had money coming in. That's great. Want to continue scaling that up and getting it a little more seamless because there are times when I am still involved, needed on the field. My goal is
Is
not
that
to
what
completely remove. Go
is
ahead.
that what you mean by when you say passive income? Like
Yeah.
you're still
So
bringing in income, but you're not necessarily doing the work?
So passive income is the quickest way to lose your business because if you think that everything can be handled without you, your whole business is going to lose its soul. So instead of seeking passive income of like, I don't want to do anything and I want money to come in, it should be, I want to be intimately involved with the decision-making process as opposed to the physical labor. I want to know what's going on with the culture. I want to know what's going on with the data. I want to know what's going on with my customers. So that's what I'm gearing myself toward right now. We are outside of the physical labor at this point. So really trying to build the automation there. My goal for this year is I want to scale our community up to 500 mobile detailers. We have 130 right now. So we're working on that. We want to get the products live. My goal within the next 5 to 10 years is I want to create such an incredible product for mobile detailers between the marketing, between the coaching, between the community and all these things, unlike anything the industry's ever seen. Because I am perfectly willing to accept the fact that there is a stigma around selling an information-based product online because so many people do it the wrong way. It's so easy to get online, talk numbers, show some lifestyle that's been rented, whatever the case may be, and get people to pay money for something and then not deliver fulfillment to your people and not care about what happens to the people that pay for your info product. So my goal right now is build that up into the new standard of what it looks like to create an online community, what it looks like to build something like that. And then from there, we're going to replicate that model out into every other service-based business. Are you a 50-year-old plumber that has had success and you feel like you want to inspire the next generation of plumbers? Great. I'm going to give you the blueprint on how we can replicate the Driven Elite, which is our program for detailers for the plumbing industry. I'm not going to be expert on plumbing, but I can show you how to build that model. And I've actually signed, will be signing this week, a contract with a client of mine, one of my first ever clients that has a business. And we are going to be developing a coaching program for this person. So can't share who or what, but they already have 800,000 followers on Instagram, 30,000 on YouTube, but mostly Instagram and TikTok. Anyhow, so that's my 5 to 10 year vision is, can I get some level of consistency with mobile detailing to the point where I'm going to be less involved? And I want to be able to build the gold standard for an information-based product that specifically is focused on changing the lives of the next generation of blue collar people, and then expanding that out into other industries so I can have influence on other blue collar industries, even if I'm not the expert in like that specific trade. So that's my plan.
Okay. Eddie wants to know, how will yours be different from Luke Wilson's as far as your
Nice
your
idea.
business program and everything that you have as far as SEO?
Yeah. I have no idea what's offered inside of Luke Wilson's program. No idea.
Okay.
What I know is we aim to do a quarterly event. So every 3 months we do an event for our mobile detailers. What I know is that our mobile detailers are producing, 6 figures or more per year. What I know about Luke Wilson's program is it's more geared toward beginners, like bare bones beginners, what products to use and so forth. I don't teach how to do marketing. We do it for you. We have a scalable solution for that. That's what I know.
So I don't know if this is necessarily a question, but I think it segues into a little bit about what I wanted to discuss. I hear more talk about how to make money 50 different ways from Sunday, but not a lot about detailing itself. Because honestly, the action of detailing is what is really bringing in the income, or at least that's how a majority of your income was made early on. So like,
Yeah.
do you have any tips on detailing more efficiently for someone who is looking to be profitable?
Put in more reps, watch more YouTube videos.
Very basic.
Very basic.
You've talked
Because
so much, Hudson. I thought you'd have a big answer for this.
no, and I don't. Because to tell you the truth, like I said early on, if you only have 1 to 2 details a day, it doesn't matter how efficient that is. It doesn't matter. Now, it will matter when you're at the point where you're like, whoa, we're slammed. I got to hire this employee, how to build an SOP. But a lot of it is going to come through reps. I can't really point to one specific method that made me like 2 hours faster on a full detail.
Do you
Now,
feel
what I
like
can
paint correction and coatings led the way for that for you? Or was it
paint
just
correction coating is
maintenance
great
details?
because it's higher ticket.
Yeah.
Maintenance details are great because they're predictable. Something else that's great is not offering complex detailing packages. Your full detail shouldn't include a shampoo, a steam clean, and a clay bar. Those should be add-ons. Like that. Those are pieces of advice that I can give. But ultimately, find what works for you. Don't stress too much about your products. You don't need to try something new every week. Build a system that works for you. Reps will make it more efficient. That's what I did.
So are you saying, and I think this is a good question, the detail doesn't matter, it's the marketing that matters?
The detail absolutely matters because it's going to be your product. It's your product.
Okay.
You will lose quality reputation if your product sucks. So make your product good. And your product is going to be a combination of the detailing and customer service, by the way. How are you communicating with your customers? Are you showing up on time? Are you giving referral bonuses? Are you making like it feel like a family? Something I love about Dirty to Dreamy. I'm sure you follow them. Their content is all like so much customer service stuff they talk about and how they really make an awesome experience for their customers and how like I feel like if I was getting my car serviced at their shop, it would feel like a warm, pleasant experience just from watching their Instagram reels and their stories. So yeah, let's see. Efficiency 100% matters for 2 cars a day. Opportunity cost is the extra time you gain for acquiring more customers. That's true. Where are your customers coming from? Are they coming from door to door? In that case, you need your time. Or are they coming from higher leverage methods like getting calls from Google and so forth, which that is not going to take much of your time. You set up a marketing campaign, you make sure it's running good. You don't have to spend 3 hours on your Google ads every single day. So those are my thoughts.
If they do the marketing, how do they vet the quality of the detail?
Let's get specific with that question. I'm not 100% sure what it means. The quality of the detail is obvious. Are your customers happy? Are you delivering results your customers are happy with for the price they paid? And are you getting a 5-star review? Are you getting referrals? It's very easy for a detailing business to burn out when your detail sucks. That's why so many people come and go. It's pretty easy to tell when your detail sucks.
Very true. Well, I was going to do a new segment, and I feel like I haven't really had a good segue into it, but we're just going to go ahead and do it because one of the things, this is sponsored by the House of Rags, and they have done a ton to support me. And so I just did a video today, and this might carry over to the mobile detailing setting. What do you guys use for polishers when it comes to mobile detailing?
Yeah, we just use Rupes.
Do you do battery powered or corded?
They're corded, and it's a bit of a pain. I've been thinking about getting cordless.
Have you tried the DIY?
I
I'm totally
haven't.
not I'm not a salesperson. So I hate pushing products, and
Looks
I think
nice
it's
though.
so funny that I am actually an influencer because it's cringe to me to like put, I'm like it's like everything within me. But I want to tell you guys that I actually did a video review on this and their rotary today. I had my test panel out and I tested out some of Ivan's. You know his theory that you can cut with a DA and finish with a
Yeah,
rotary.
finish with rotary.
Do you agree with that?
I've never done it.
I did it today for the
You
first
like
time.
it?
I've got a video coming out that's going to kind of prove or
Okay.
disprove that. So it's going to
Okay.
be a little bit of a teaser for you guys to stay tuned. I have a video coming out on Friday, and then next week on Tuesday, I'm going to have this video ready for you guys. But for those of you that maybe are mobile like Hudson and are looking for a cord-free battery-powered polisher, this thing, have you ever put your hands on it yet?
No,
So
never
this is the
gotten it.
one where the battery literally sits in the middle. But it's a 25 millimeter throw, super powerful, can cut amazingly, finish down. One battery holds like 40 minutes of time, and you can see we've got like a little meter here to show you how much juice you've got.
Okay.
One battery holds like 40 minutes and it charges super fast. By the time I was like done with the video, I had a dead one already fully recharged. So absolutely loving it. So for those of you that want to check it out, maybe you're a mobile detailer, you've been watching this and you're like, I need a new polisher. The link for it is in the video description box, as well as a coupon code for those that you want to try out. They have limited stock. So if you've been thinking about getting one, go ahead, grab one. But
Hmm.
yeah, maybe Ivan will send you one to demo out,
Does look
because
pretty solid.
honestly, they are amazing. They are amazing polishers.
Problem with the corded polishers is if you're not careful, the cord it'll tangle. It's not get tangled. Like, yes, it gets tangled, but it'll start twisting in on itself. Do you know what I mean? Have you experienced
Mhm.
that? I'm
You don't
sure
have,
people know what
yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, you got
That
to constantly be
sucks.
like, and then it falls off your shoulder and you got to deal with the cord. This
Mhm.
eliminates that. But the fact that you have two batteries with it, that's more than enough to do paint enhancement, heavy correction. And honestly, it had really nice power. I was pushing down on it. I have a Rupes and it's always stalling on me. I was pushing down
Okay.
on that and that thing just kept going and going. So
Huh.
for those of you that are on the market for a polisher, stay tuned to my YouTube channel, Attention to Details with Chelsea. We're going to do a review on this and demonstrate. We're going to put that theory to the test, which cuts better, DA versus rotary, and in which order should you do it.
They're also not stupid expensive too. I think I looked on their website when they released like what 250, 300, because the Rupes one I have is like 550,
I want to
600.
think they're over 300, but I
They're
think
over
he
300?
said they are going to try to work on the cost in the future.
Okay.
Or maybe I was wrong on that, but it is cheaper than a Rupes
By a
cordless
lot.
polisher.
Yeah, Rupes is expensive.
Yeah. So for me, like I bought a SPTA battery polisher for over 200. It lasted me like a year and a half, but at best it can do a paint enhancement, not heavy correction. This thing, I had 2,000 grit sanding marks on it and it
Okay.
handled it pretty easily. So
Nice.
that's my little pitch. I totally handled
great.
that with these. Good job, Chelsea. Eddie, are you proud of me? Hopefully you are.
Yeah, we get a text
But
afterward.
he'll be like, good job. But anyways, I know that was like a little cheesy little commercial there for you guys. Thanks for putting up with me. The last question that I always ask all of my guests is, if you could go back in time and give your younger self some advice on what to do differently, what would you say to him? And you probably don't have to go back that far.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
that was an ageism joke. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
well, I mean, I went off about age earlier, so like, you know, we can go both ways. For me, it would be document the journey earlier. So I didn't start making videos until I had that first van. How much better would it have been for my social media presence to have made videos from, hey, I just bought this equipment, let's see if it works. Here's my first mobile detail. I just got my first maintenance client. It's my first ceramic coating. I think that would have been the highest leverage thing that I could have done from day one, was document the journey, because you never know where it goes. I'm all about unlocking exponential opportunity through a simple business model. It's no secret through my social media that I have ambitions beyond just detailing. I want to go places farther than that. And I think that a big part of, like we talked about earlier, defining success. Define success in your terms, right? For me, success in my terms comes with the things that I'm building. And part of that is through a social media presence. I would have much more influence and reach if I had documented from day one. That's something that I wish I had done.
Okay. Well, like I said, for those of you that want to try out this week's product of the week, we have the link for that down below. If you guys have any last minute questions for Hudson, get them in now. I want to think that there was one earlier that I starred. Let me just, all right. With a website, there's SEO, but there's also metadata. Would you say the metadata is just as important?
Yeah, metadata is a huge part of SEO. So SEO is going to be a lot of things. It's going to be metadata, backlinks, domain authority, all those things. If you want to write those down and look them up later and do some deep dive and find some free courses online, it'll get you places.
Okay.
So metadata, backlinks. What else did I say? Domain authority. Those are going to be the primary starting points for SEO.
Okay. Hudson, if people want to find you online, where can they go to find you?
2 places, at Hud_Archer on Instagram, and then Hudson Archer Auto Detailing on YouTube. If you type in Hudson Archer Detailing on either platform, you're going to find me.
Okay. Well, I feel like my brain is a little mushy after this podcast. There was a lot of information that you hit us with. I might have to go back and just replay this. For those of you that want to listen via audio, you can listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's Behind the Details with Chelsea. But Hudson, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience, and just your story with us. I think it's really inspiring. I hope my son could have an ounce of your drive for his future. Your parents must be extremely proud. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast to get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having the chance to come on. So I appreciate you inviting me. It was good to chat face to face. I know we got introed over text and email with Ivan like 2 years ago. So this was great.
Yeah. Well, next week, make sure you guys tune in. We're going to have Jeremy Stevens from Shine Supply. He is a phenomenal businessman as well as just man of God. So I'm really excited to have him on to hear his story. If you've ever heard his story, it's very inspirational as well. So make sure you guys tune in next week. We are going to be doing a time change. I know that we did 7 p.m. the last couple of episodes. As a mom, my kids are starting soccer next week and their practice goes until 7. So we're going back to 8. So make sure you guys tune in next week. We're going to be starting again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. But again, thank you, Hudson, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we will see you guys in the next podcast. All right. Thank you.